Welcome to the lecture series Programming in C. In this lecture, we will be learning about the decision making statements part 3. In part 1, we have learnt about if statement, if else statement to handle the condition if it is true and false. In part 2, we have learnt about the nested if statement, how to handle a complete if else block within another if or else statement. Also, we have learnt about constructing else if ladder statement in a way to check the condition. If the condition is false, we have introduced new condition. So, recapping that part 1 and part 2, now we will move forward to part 3, wherein we will be learning about the multiple selection statement, switch statement, how to handle the multiple selections or multiple conditions using switch statement, and then ternary operator, which is a special operator for checking condition, and also we will learn about the go to statement for jumping or making the control jump from one statement to the other, which is also changes the control flow of the statement. What is multiple selection or multiple condition checking statements? So far we have only seen binary selection in the sense that if the condition becomes true, what is to be done, if it becomes false, what is to be done. So, this is a simple if statement where we check the condition, and if the condition is true, we try to execute a statement. The second thing is going to be the if else statement, wherein we are checking a condition, and if the condition becomes true, the statement is executed. If the condition becomes false, the statement is executed under else part. So, this is what we have checked or we have worked on, where the output of the condition is binary. Sometimes it is necessary to branch in more than two directions. So, how do we do it? That set of statements we call as multiple selection statements. The multiple selection mechanism in C has been implemented using a switch statement. So, let us see how switch statement works in C language. Before that, let us apply multiple selection statement using if structure and if else structure. Let us analyze that in what way it is difficult and what way it is addressing, and what are the things to be done for going ahead with multiple selection statement. Yes, in this example, we are considering an integer variable named day. The day's value is compared with 0 using equality operator. So, the output can only be a binary value, either the condition is true or false. If the condition is true, we are trying to print the value to be Sunday. If the day value is 1, we print it to be Monday. Okay. So, it goes on for checking for 7 days. We are how many if statements we are supposed to have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. The 8th condition will help us check if the value falls out of the range, that is, if it is not in the range 0 to 6. 0 to 6 is meant for checking for 7 days of a week. If it is not falling in this range, if it is out of the range, we have to indicate that using an error message saying that the day is an invalid day. So, that could be checked using 8th if statement. So, we need n plus 1 statements if we want to check n conditions or n values to be compared for one particular variable. Actually, what here we are doing, we are just taking one variable and we are comparing it with 7 values. The 8th condition will be to check whether it is out of the range, right. So, here we use if else statement. Okay, assume that we go for using else if statement, then we will apply the same criteria for checking the day values, and we will try to print the corresponding day values. If the day value starts with 0, it is going to be Sunday, if it is 1, if it is going to be Monday. Okay. Like, so what we are doing here? We are comparing the integer day value with its value 0. If it is 0, we are printing out as Sunday. Else, so here we are introducing an else if statement. So, if the condition is false, if the condition of day to be 0, if it is false, we are checking with is if else statement and we are comparing it with value 1. If it is true, we are displaying the value to be Monday, right. So, we are again going for checking the multiple selection statements, multiple comparisons, and we are ending up with the result, right. Now, let me know how many if statements here we are using. Okay. Let us see that. If statement 1, so let me number it as 1, second if, third if, fourth if statement, fifth if, sixth if, seventh if. Now, luckily one number has got reduced compared to the if statement, because we are eliminating the false conditions at every point, such that at the end of the if else structure, if it is not satisfying any of the prior conditions, when it comes to the else statement, it is obviously true that all other conditions are false. So, henceforth we need not have one more if statement to display the error message. So, now the number of if else structure has been reduced, comparing it with if structure. So, here we can say that this if else structure is more efficient than the if structure, right. Then alternatively, we can make use of a switch statement in C language to check the same sort of scenario, and it is enough that if we go for using a single switch statement for handling multiple conditions. So, how do we do that? The syntax of the switch statement is switch of expression, and we use the keyword called case. Case and switch are the two keywords. Okay, switch and case are keywords. So, we check for the expression, and if the expression satisfies any of the given cases. So, we can go for giving multiple cases using the keyword case. If the condition satisfy any of the given cases, then the corresponding case statement, the corresponding expression would get executed. If all the case statements are not satisfied, then it goes for executing a default statement. Here default is also a keyword used in the switch statement. Default is also a keyword, right. Now, how the expression is to be? All case expressions must be different. We cannot have the same expression for more than one case. Okay, the expression should be distinct, and the expression must evaluate to an integer. It is the most important thing to remember. We cannot have a character, or we cannot have a string or a floating point value in the expression. We can have characters, but the characters would by default be converted to integer anyway. So, the compiler will be able to accept only integer values in the expression part. First, the expression is evaluated, then the value of the expression is compared with every case statement, and then it will start executing the case statement when the comparison matches. Okay. So, that is how the flow of execution would be. Remember, I repeat, first the expression will be evaluated, then the value which comes out of the expression will be compared with every case, and which is the case which matches the corresponding statements of that particular case statement would get executed. The default statement is present and it is executed only when no other case matches in the flow of the execution. So, this is how the switch statement helps us execute multiple selection or for checking multiple conditions. One thing we must learn, we are supposed to use a break statement for every case. So, break is also a keyword. So, what we are supposed to use, why we are supposed to use the break statement is that the last statement of each case in the switch statement should always be a break. The break causes the program control to jump to the closing braces of the switch case on executing that particular set of statements for the case which matches. Say for example, if case with this constant value 2, it gets matched, then it will start executing these statements unless we give the break statement. The program execution will not be stopped. If we are missing out giving break statement, then it keeps continuing for the next case statement also. It means that once the case statement is matched, then there onwards it will be treated as true. The condition matching will be treated as true. So, that is why we say that without the break the code flows into the next case. So, that is the reason that we are supposed to give the break statement for every case. A switch statement will compile without a default case, but always consider having a default case so that we can have a safe programming mode. The default statement is option. Let us consider an example. So, here what we give? Switch off mark/10. We have already learnt that the expression should be an integer value, but then on dividing it takes only the integer value. Even if you are getting the decimal value or a floating point value, that is not considered, it takes only the whole part of the fractional value, even if the output is going to be a fractional value, right. It compares with each case. Let us assume that the marks value is 80. So, here the first statement, switch statement, will be evaluated first, 80 by 10. Okay. So, 80 by 10 we get the integer value as 8, right. So, what happens? It checks for the first case, it is 3. So, not executed. Then the second case is not matched, third case is not matched, fourth case not matched, fifth case not matched. So, when it comes to the sixth case, it gets matched. Once if it is matched, it executes the statements of that corresponding case. So, now the grade will be assigned as AB. Once it is done, we have to execute the break statement. When the break statement is executed, the control flow will come out of the switch statement. Only then it will be breaked, it will be stopped, the switch execution will be terminated, okay. Or otherwise it will consider that case 9 is also true, case 10 is also true, default case is also true, it goes ahead. If suppose if I am not giving the break statement here, what will be the output of this particular code? The output will be AB gets displayed, AA gets displayed, also FF gets displayed, because this condition is also true, this condition is also true, this condition is also true, if there is no break. Okay. If there is a break, it displays only one value. Okay. Switch statements are also used for creating menu driven programs. So, wherever we have a menu kind of structure, we can go for using the switch statement. So, here is an example where we are declaring an integer type variable named choice and we give the value 0 to it, and we are having a looping structure to display the menu. Okay. So, my menu, if I press 1 there is an edit option, if I press 2 there is a submenu delete, if I press 3 there is a submenu quit. We are getting the choice from the user using the looping structure. And now coming to the switch statement, if I give the value of choice to be 2, if I give the value of choice to be 2 for the first execution, then it goes to the case 2. It displays do delete, which is the sub option, which is sub menu of value 2, and then it breaks the case statement. Then for the second execution, if I give the choice value to be 3, it matches with the case 3 and it just displays the value to be done. So, this is how the menu driven program can be created using the simple switch statement. So, it will be easier for us to do multiple selection and multiple condition checking using the switch statement. So, include a default case to catch invalid data. So, what is the advantage of going for default case? The default case you can use to print some messages which are commonly given if the data is invalid. Inform the user of the type of error that has occurred. In case if they are violating the existing range, we can give some error message saying that the data is invalid, the day is invalid, kind of error message. If appropriate, display the invalid value too. If appropriate, you can even terminate the program execution using the default case. The same example which we have learnt using the if and if else structure. Okay. Now, it is coded using a single switch statement where we check for the value day, which is going to be the integer value. So, if it is going to be 3, it only matches with case 3. So, the control will be given to case 3, it executes Wednesday and there is a break statement. So, with the break statement it comes to the closing braces of the switch statement. So, now we can understand that the execution has been reduced to the extent that we are checking only one condition and only one case is executed and we are breaking the statement. So, this is how switch statements are very better than nested if else structure and if else as well as the if structure. Now, we will learn a conditional operator, which is a special operator used in C language, also otherwise called ternary operator. Why it is named as ternary operator? This operand carries 3 operands. So, we can see that here the first operand will be a condition to check. If this condition is true, it executes the second operand. It can even be a assignment statement. If it is false, it executes the third operand. If the condition is true, it executes second operand. If the condition is false, it executes the third operand. Okay. Say for example, size not equal to 0 is the condition checked by the ternary operator. Ternary operator is going to be the question mark and the colon symbol. Together we will call that as a ternary operator. So, we are checking for the condition if size not equal to 0. If the size is not equal to 0 exactly, then it executes this statement. It means it displays the value as size or else it makes it to be 0. So, one example we will see. We will have 2 variables a and b assigned with 2 values 5 and 3. We are checking for a condition a greater than b and we are assigning the value output to another variable say x. So, what happens here? If the value of a is greater than b, of course, it is in this case because value of a is assigned to be 5 and b is assigned to be 3. So, if the condition is true, it assigns the value a to x. So, now x becomes the value 5. So, henceforth it displays the value as x value is 5. If it is going to be other way round, then the other condition will become true, it supplies or it stores the value of b to x. So, this is a way that using a single statement we can check for a condition and we can have the values stored onto a variable according to the given condition, whether it is true or false. Then there is a special feature in C language called go to statement, which is used for transferring the program control from one statement to the other using a label. So, I can label the statements and easily I can transfer the control from one statement to the other using go to statement. The go to statement can act in two ways, either it can move the control forward or it can move the control backward. Okay. So, in the first case it is backward jump, in the second case it is forward jump. Yeah, the simple syntax is go to label. Label can be any word or any name which is going to be user defined, and it can allow us to name a particular statement. So, I can name a statement using that particular label. I can make the compiler move forward and backward using the go to statement. So, this is what is the forward jump statement, this is backward jump statement. If it is forward jump statement, the label will be existing after the go to statement. In the case of backward jump, the label will be labeled statement will exist before the go to statement. See, however it be, accordingly we can move forward and backward. Some examples. So, in this case I value is defined with the value 11 and we are checking for the modulo value, that is whether the division of 11 by 2, whether what is the remainder value it gives. If the remainder value is 0, then we have a labeled statement called even. If the value is not 0, we have a labeled statement called odd. So, here according to this program, the value of 11 is odd. So, it skips the if block, it will be directly going to the else part. In the else part, we are using a label odd. Henceforth, the labeled statement printf, the number is odd, will be displayed and then it moves to the end of the program. So, the output you can see, it displays two statements, the number is odd and the end of program. And we will also look into one more example to understand more about the go to statement. So, here what we do? Here we are declaring a variable and assigning the value 0. Without any condition checking, I just use a label start, in which we are incrementing the value of I by 1. And then we go ahead with printing its value and we check if I value is 5, then go to end or else go to start again. Can you sense a form of a loop here? Yes, of course. So, what happens? Initialize to 0 and it goes to the start label, it gets incremented by 1 for the first time and we are displaying its value using printf statement. Then we are checking if the value of I is equal to 5. It is not equal to 5. So, we are making the go to statement to go to start again. Again we are incrementing its value by 1. So, we are trying to display its value, now it becomes 2. Then we are checking for the condition whether I is equal to 5. It is not. So, again going back to start, we get now the I value to be incremented by 1, which becomes 3. Now, we are again checking for the condition I equal to 5, it is not. So, we again go to start. Now, we increment the value of I by 1, so we get 4. Also again we will be executing one more iteration, we will be getting the value of I to be 5. When the I value becomes 5, this condition I equal to 5 becomes true. If it is true, we are making the statement to go to the labeled statement end. It means that after this it goes to the statement where the label end exists. So, then it prints the value as end of loop. So, this is how the program execution will be in case if you are using some labeled statements and we use the go to statement to go to a particular label. So, the output we can see here the same way the I values are displayed from 1 to 5, it is incremented, and then if I value becomes 5, we are making it go to the end of the loop, we are displaying it as end of loop. Hope you might have understood the way that the go to statement works. Now, summarizing this particular lecture, we have learned how to use or how to check multiple conditions using a single switch statement, which reduces the impact or complexity of if and simple if and nested if statements. So, it is efficient compared to the other statements. Also, we have learnt about the special ternary operator, which is used for checking a condition, and if a condition becomes true, we have executed a single execution, and if it is false, we have done it with a single statement. And go to statement is used to change the control flow to the required labeled statement. So, we can label some statements and we can make the control flow move to that particular label, but we have to be careful on using the go to statements because we cannot keep moving forward and backward often. The compiler will get confused and the compiler will not be able to cope up with the go to statements if we are using multiple go to statements and multiple forward and backward jumps. We have to be very careful on coding with the go to statements. It is better to even avoid using go to statements. And also we have seen some examples relevant for every concept. Thank you for listening to this particular lecture. Thank you again.